Good afternoon. My name is Steve Janz and welcome to my Advanced Management Accounting video series. Today we're going to talk about variances, but we're not going to actually calculate any numbers. We're going to talk about variances before the numbers. And it's very important for us to understand three major concepts before we actually ever analyze the numbers. The first one is experience. I'm going to share with you some stories that will help you understand the importance of how these numbers are created. The first time that I ever really actually created a budget, I did it for 3 18-unit apartment buildings. I took last year's numbers, put it into a really nice spreadsheet, and I thought I was great at it. I went home that night, job well done. But something in the morning, when I woke up, just didn't sit right with me. And then it dawned on me, I've never actually been in these buildings. I've never actually seen the vacant suites that we don't seem to be able to lease. So I went to work and I asked the owner and my manager, could I actually go in my car and see these vacant suites and these 3 buildings? So I did. Wow, what a disaster. These suites were horrible. One was missing a toilet. One had a dragon painted on the ceiling in the bedroom. The condition of the hallways were disgusting. So I analyzed all that and I went, I have no experience on how to do these variances unless I leave my desk. So first thing, the person who is creating these budgets, are they experienced? Did they actually get out and see what they're creating the budget for? Did they do the research? And again, leave your desk. Another story I have for you, errors. I worked for an airlines company for a little while, and one of the first things I inherited as the budget analyst was this huge budget variance for the pilots. And I was asked to research why. So I went into the Excel file, looked at the actual numbers, and it was huge, and it was growing month after month. And I just started digging and asking questions, and no one had a real logical reason why there was such a huge variance. Then I looked at the spreadsheet, and I noticed at the bottom, where all those little worksheets are, that basically when the numbers were calculated, someone forgot to add in the last worksheet for about 30 pilots. Someone basically just forgot to add it in. And that was it. That explained the variances. Once we corrected that, the numbers and the variances made sense then to analyze. So always check to see if there's simply either a technology error or a human error. The last thing that I want to talk about is bias. When people are creating budgets, and I've seen this actually several times, their personal views will influence the budget. I've seen, for example, where we were basically doing a very large renovation, a very expensive renovation, that we were going to have great, really high lease rates. And I asked the owner one day, is that really realistic? And he sat back and he said, no, it's not. This is ridiculous. These numbers don't make sense. I had another situation where we were padding the budget, and I discovered that. We wanted to have a little bit built into the budget and all these expenses so that when the real numbers came in, we were favorable time after time after time. Well, that's not actually very good budgeting at all. That's your personal biasness in there, and that doesn't help with planning whatsoever. So when you are analyzing budget variances, ask these 3 questions beforehand, before you even look at the numbers. So why do this at all? Because if the budgeting is done properly, we will notice things that don't make sense and possibly discover situations we can improve. So we had created a budget for, again, medium-sized mall, and we noticed that over a few months that there was this really large variance for our lighting, our light bulbs. And the owner called me up one day, he circled it, and he said, why is there such a big variance? Well, I knew nothing about light bulbs, so I went to the operations manager, asked the operations manager if there's anything that's new. Has anything changed? He basically said, no, we buy the same type of light bulbs. The only thing that's changed is that we have a new salesperson for one of the companies. So I took that information and I started to analyze our purchases. Big, thick file, put it into a spreadsheet. I got to learn about all the different types of bulbs and all the prices. Well, wouldn't you know it, that company that had the new salesperson, I noticed something really strange. About the same time as that salesperson started, I noticed a really big increase in our prices per bulb, like really big, about 50%. So I did the calculations for about 6-7 months, and that basically explained our variances. So I took it to the operations manager and I said, were we informed of this price increase? And he said, no. And then he said, oh boy, this doesn't sound good. So I contacted that company, not the salesperson, above the salesperson. I actually contacted the owner. And I said to the owner, we've noticed this. Do you have an answer for us? And there was this long pause. And he said, can you send me your information? And then I'll get back to you after the weekend. So Friday, I sent him the information, let him think about it and analyze it for the weekend. Monday morning, about 7 a.m., he contacted us. And he basically said, the salesperson did not have the authority to raise these prices. These prices are actually wrong. The salesperson no longer works for us. You'll actually get a credit for all the variances that you've calculated to the exact penny. And going forward, we will lower our price 10% for the next year. We are so sorry. So I took that information to the owner, presented what I had discovered, presented that company's solution, and he accepted it. So that's why we do variances. We do these variances so that we can discover unfavorable or favorable items that we want to explore, that management by exception. We want to research that so that we can understand why something is happening. Everyone, have a good day.